In Colombia, the dialogue between the National Strike Committee and the government of Iván Duque ends without agreement. South Africa started its mass vaccination drive with the goal of inoculating nearly 5 million citizens aged 60 and above by the end of June. Israeli airstrike in Gaza overnight killed more than 2,000 people, the single deadliest attack of the current hostilities. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. In Colombia, the dialogue between the National Strike Committee and the government of Iván Duque ends without agreement after 20 days of nationwide mobilizations. On the third day of meetings, the National Committee did not establish a table of dialogue. Also, after night, in the midst of talks between the government and the Civic Strike Committee in Colombia that are in Bogotá, President Iván Duque ordered the maximum operational deployment of the public force to lift blockades throughout the territory. And we remain in Colombia because protests continue against the government of Iván Duque. Last night, security forces attacked peaceful protesters in Yumbo, Valle del Cauca, with helicopters and vehicles firing tear gas and projectiles close to homes. A cordial relationship between the local strike committee and the mayor of Yumbo has prevailed. This Monday morning, a meeting had been arranged to start talks between both parties. Unknown people, not members of the social movement, tried to set fire to a police station, leading to the violent response of the security forces. Neighborhood movements also mobilized to safeguard the place, but were attacked by the anti-riot squad, who arrested 2 people. The police attack with a helicopter used to shoot at the neighbors in the area left a large number of wounded who are being treated by the medical assistance teams in a temporary health center.
Breathe, breathe. They threw the bombs against the door of the house. That's the way they are. Mom is coming. Where's Mom? Here comes the mother. Look, there's the mother. Look what they are doing here, Mr. Mayor of Jumbo. Look at the people. The child is here. The child is fine.
And reports of abuse of authority and police violence continue to mount in Colombia. From La Estancia in Yumbo, a member of the Permanent Human Rights Committee claims that the anti-riot squadron has fired tear gas at homes in an attempt to weaken the legitimate right to protest against the government of Iván Duque.
Today I make this complaint. The anti-riot squadron, this criminal government, attacked its own people, throwing tear gas here in La Estancia against people's home, where there are children and the elderly. I make this complaint today, May 17th, at 3:06 a.m. I make this international complaint so that the international media comes to this place.
In an exclusive interview with teleSUR, the executive secretary of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, Sasha Lorenti, highlighted that police violence in Colombia does nothing to address the structural causes of the deep inequality and injustice that the country is experiencing.
Own statement says the use of violence does not resolve the structural causes of social injustice. This condemnation has come within the framework of the principles and purpose of the United Nations Charter, in which international laws note the duty of the states to respect human rights. But in the face of this statement, it has come to our attention that once again this war script has been deployed to try to blame causes other than the structural causes for the situation in Colombia.
In addressing the ongoing Israeli aggression against Palestinians in Gaza and the occupied territories, Lorenti said it will increase both illegal colonization of Palestinian land and ethnic cleansing.
Here the main responsible is not just Israel, but the complicity of the United States government in the situation of Palestine. One thing that is important to emphasize is we cannot speak of an Israel conflict with Palestine. There is no conflict, there is no war, there is no policy of self-defense by Israel. What is there is a systematic application of colonization practice, the expulsion of Palestinians from their own territories, and the systematic and widespread violation of international law.
And now we move on to Chile because there is change in the political sphere. This is shown by the results of the mega elections held this weekend. The mobilization started by the Chilean youth and students brutally attacked by the government of President Sebastián Piñera provoked the change in the electoral ballot boxes, and this Monday, Chile is a different country. The election results give a clear victory to the forces of change led by the left and the independents. The big losers have been the parties of the right-wing coalition and the Social Democrats. The Vamos por Chile list, the broad coalition of the right and the extreme right, will not achieve the objective for which the entire right-wing spectrum was grouped. With 21% of representation, it is the most voted list, but it will be far from being able to influence the new constitutional articles. The result of the constituent vote, the result of massive social mobilizations at the end of 2019, leaves the new Magna Carta in the hands of the independent and left-wing list. The left-wing list, Apruebo Dignidad and Lista del Pueblo, will collect 18 and 15 of the representation, while the center-left groupings, Lista del Apruebo and Independientes No Neutrales, will reach 14 and 7 in each case. The representatives will have until June 2022 to deliberate on the text, which will then be voted on by Chilean citizens. The candidate for the Mapuche people, Francisca Linconao, made a call to all the constituents to work together in the drafting of a new constitution and also thank the people for their support. Francisca will be part of the constituents that will make a new constitution for Chile.
I call on all the constituents because as a candidate I won with many votes, and I say to you that we should work together to move forward and to draft the new constitution. And I greet you all and thank you for everything. We will be seeing each other.
In the city of Santiago, Chile's capital, Communist Party candidate Iracy Jacob is confirmed to be the next mayor, a historic achievement of the Communist Party that won against conservative Felipe Alessandri. With almost all of the votes counted, economist and councilwoman for Santiago since 2017 leads with more than 3 points ahead of Felipe Alessandri. The electoral body tallies confirmed that the candidate of the Communist Party has more than 31,000 votes compared to over 28,000 for the now former mayor. The newly elected mayor assured that this Sunday's elections and results are a historic opportunity to transform the city and to achieve a dignified life with welfare. And we have more news coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough, and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomy. Monday, only on teleSUR. Every year, thousands of people leave their homeland to reach new horizons. A reality of those people who struggle for their freedom. Know the diverse causes of those who live between borders. Thursdays, only on teleSUR.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. This Monday, South Africa started its mass vaccination drive with the goal of inoculating nearly 5 million citizens aged 60 and above by the end of June. To start the campaign, shots of the Pfizer vaccine were given to people aged 60 and older, living in nursing homes. So far, the country has vaccinated over 478,000 of its medical personnel with Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and it plans to give the shots to the remainder of its 1.2 million health workers by the end of Authorities in the country reported that several citizens 60 years and older, as well as medical workers, have completed their online registrations to get vaccinated. South Africa now has nearly 1 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine, after receiving a delivery of more than 300,000 doses of the vaccine on Sunday night.
Somewhat liberated. We'll see how we go. Having the vaccine now, having a little bit more freedom will be outstanding. And we hope that the rest of the community and country get it as fast as possible.
And this Monday in Japan, a new poll showed that more than 80% of Japanese oppose hosting the Olympics this year. The latest survey, carried out less than 10 weeks before the Tokyo Games, came after Japan extended a coronavirus state of emergency, as the nation faces a fourth wave of infections. The surge in cases has put pressure on the country's healthcare system, with medical professionals repeatedly warning about shortages and exhaustion. The opinion poll found 43% of the population want the 2020 Games cancelled, and 40% want a further postponement. Only 14% support holding the Olympics this summer as scheduled.
I believe we must not hold the Olympics just for the convenience of the IOC and the Tokyo government. There is no reason, none, for us to have to hold the Games now when infection is spreading through the country, when we are under the state of emergency, and when athletes are suffering in many ways. If authorities put priority on the economy, I want them to lift the restrictions on restaurants and bars. If they prioritize the antivirus measures, I want them to cancel the Olympics. I am here to protest against the Games because their policies are so contradictory.
And around 3,000 Moroccans, a third of whom were presumed to be minors, according to Spanish authorities, swam and used inflatable boats on Monday to cross into Ceuta, the largest number of irregular arrivals in a single day into Spain's enclave in northern Africa. Ceuta and nearby Melilla are regarded as a stepping stone into Europe for African migrants. Hundreds of them risk injuries or death every year while trying to jump over fences, hide inside vehicles, or by swimming around breakwaters that extend several meters into the Mediterranean Sea. But the figure of 3,000 people making the crossing in just one day strained police and emergency workers in the city of 84,000. Spain doesn't grant Moroccans asylum status. In India, tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes as a severe cyclone heads towards the northwest state of Gujarat. According to press reports, the powerful cyclone Tauktae is the biggest to hit western India in 30 years. Heavy rains, intense winds and destructive storms had already affected some states along the country's western coast, causing blackouts, downing trees and resulting in at least 6 deaths. The Indian Meteorological Department reported that the storm, which originated in the Arabian Sea, has winds of 155 to 165 kilometers per hour. Due to the severity of the cyclone, authorities in Mumbai closed the airport for several hours and urged people to stay indoors as they transfer COVID-19 patients from 3 field hospitals to safer locations. And according to climate expert Rosie Matthew Cole from the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, rapid ocean warming is behind this increase in storms forming in the Arabian Sea off the coast of western India. An example of this is Cyclone Tauktae.
Since that we are seeing more storms and cyclones in the tropical regions, especially regions like Arabian Sea and all, is because of ocean warming, rapid ocean warming. Storms and cyclones draw their energy from warm ocean waters. And now what is happening? The Arabian Sea temperatures, the ocean surface temperatures are warming rapidly. And that has resulted in this sudden spurt of storms and cyclones forming over the Arabian Sea in the recent decades.
More news in a minute. Join us again after this.
It is our duty to reverse the damage we cause to the planet. Let's recover our natural ecosystems with actions in defense of the environment. Let's keep fighting for a greener world. Wednesdays, only on teleSUR. Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali analyzes the international media influence driven by the empire, acts as an analysis of political, economic and social life throughout Latin America through our stream and website in English, a critical space committed to truth to determine the conjuncture that moved the world today. The world today. Mondays on teleSUR. Who's moving the chessmen? What interests motivate the actors behind each event? The board is deployed there. Critical Move investigates every event from Monday to Friday. Only on teleSUR. Every year, thousands of people leave their homeland to reach new horizons. A reality of those people who struggle for their freedom. Know the diverse causes of those who live between borders. Thursdays, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. After a week of savage Israeli violence that has killed more than 200 Palestinians, Israel's war crimes show no sign of abating. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel will continue striking targets in Gaza. The Israeli regime, supported by its allies and the mass media, continues to claim a right to defend itself against the supposed threat of the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas. According to reports, Hamas has fired some 3,000 rockets towards Israel since the conflict escalated on May the 10th, nothing comparable to the military might of the Zionist regime. In just 3 days, Israel killed more Palestinians than Israelis killed by Hamas in 10 years. Three massive blasts shook Gaza City tonight again amid the ongoing conflict between Hamas and Israel. The Israeli military had earlier unleashed another heavy wave of airstrikes on the Gaza Strip, saying it destroyed militant tunnels and the homes of 9 Hamas commanders. Meanwhile, the occupation army has also bombed medical centers as well as the Ministry of Health building in the Gaza Strip and the only central laboratory that conducts COVID-19 tests, which threatens the outbreak of the pandemic in the Gaza Strip, said the ministry. Likewise, doctors treated injured Palestinians following an Israeli airstrike that hit the top floor of a building housing the family of Abu Dayer at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. The Israeli strike caused casualties and damage to nearby buildings and to the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza City. At least 212 Palestinians have been killed in the week of airstrikes, including 61 children and 36 women, with more than 1,400 people wounded.
All the Arab, Islamic and international world must take a stand and stop this Zionist aggression against our people that destroy all our infrastructure, buildings and frightened people. We are a steadfast people and we have a right to this land. We will not give up and leave it no matter what happens to us and no matter the destruction.
Palestinian factions and Hezbollah supporters held a rally in support of Palestinians in the Lebanese capital Beirut's southern suburbs of Haret Reik. These are protests that join those that have already been carried out in rejecting the siege from Israel against Palestine. The chairman of the Executive Council of Hezbollah expressed his solidarity with the Palestinian people, saying, quote, "We are in one battle, one in front and sharing the same cause. Your fight is our fight. Your martyrs are our martyrs. Your cause is our cause. Your priority are our priorities. And your missiles are our missiles." And the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken acknowledged that he has not seen any Israeli evidence of Hamas operating in the Gaza office building, hit by an airstrike over the weekend.
You know, I think President Biden and other members of the administration have raised directly our concerns with our Israeli counterparts about the safety and security of journalists operating in Gaza. And we have stressed the need for their protection. Shortly after the strike, we did request additional details regarding the justification for it.
The World Health Organization chief condemned on Monday that the escalating violence between Israel and Palestinians in Gaza and the protection of health workers and infrastructure is, and we quote, "imperative in all circumstances."
Workers and health facilities is an imperative in all circumstances. It's essential that the norms of international humanitarian law be fully respected. In particular, health workers and infrastructure should always be protected, and I call for leaders on all sides to ensure respect for these vital humanitarian laws.
Jordan's Deputy Prime Minister on Sunday called on Israel to stop the aggression on Gaza as international efforts to broker a ceasefire continue.
Israel, as occupying power, is responsible for the dangerous situation in the Palestinian occupied lands and all that is caused from violence, killing, destruction and suffering. Escalation must stop, and stop the aggression of Gaza, and stop all illegitimate Israeli practice that basically targeted this escalation in occupied Jerusalem and the rest of the Palestinian lands. You must act immediately to achieve this and to provide protection for the Palestinian people.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.